Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Rain all day here in Wisconsin, but I guess I'd rather have that than snow. Sorry if I just took myself out of frame. It is Thanksgiving Day, late in the afternoon. Wife and kids have gone north. I'll be meeting them sometime this weekend, but I promised you a video of what I've been up to, what my last wheelings and dealings have been. I just unloaded this from the trailer for a couple of reasons. First reason is it was on my father-in-law's trailer, which he wants back this weekend, so I had to unload it for that reason, and for the reason that I have sold what I have unloaded. Hopefully, if the guy does come through, he seems like the real deal. It's an auto restoration shop in Wisconsin who seems to specialize in GM cars. So let's take a look at what I got here. This was a barn find. There's a story, and I'm going to share it with you. Ta-da! Whoa. 1965 Malibu Super Sport. Long story on this, kind of. There's some question marks on it. This car was in a garage fire, and in about 1985. Prior to 1985, this car had a frame-on restoration and was a daily driver in summer months for a friend of a friend. My wife actually remembers this vehicle at her high school, dropping off and picking up classmates of hers. This was their mom's car. This was Rosie's Super Sport. This was her summer car. She bought this car in the swap meet, or in the car corral at Iola Car Show, approximately 1980-ish. Not exactly sure. She had it a few summers, drove it a lot. It was in someone else's building, and the building caught fire. The car caught fire, and here we are. It had been in a dry barn since the fire. The car, as received, was a 283 4-barrel, an M21 4-speed, 12-bolt posi. The car is badged for 327, as you can see. It is badged for 327, but it had a 283 in it. I don't know the story on that. The last owner did know that it was a 283, not a 327, but it was a power pack engine. We know that by the numbers, I believe. It had an M21 4-speed in it. That both engine and transmission I have sold already. That's gone. I don't know if this car was born with an automatic or 4-speed or floor shift or column shift. All I know is what's right in front of me. This car is a manual steering, manual brakes, floor shift steering column. What's left of it, I don't know if you can see that. I kind of shoved it through the firewall so I could throw these doors in here. The floor is butchered. Not an original 4-speed hump, but it had a 4-speed in it. It's not that big of a deal. The VIN is what matters. It is a 138 VIN, which makes it a Super Sport, 2-door sport coupe. Built in Kansas City. I think first week of November, I believe it was. It's got the bucket seat brackets in the floor. They look original, so I believe it was a bucket seat car. Whether it had a console or not, I don't know. If it did, it was not born that way from what I can tell. The car is extremely solid for the year. Had this car not burned, this car would still be pretty damn nice. And I seen pictures of it before it burnt, and it was a nice car. The car was born maroon with red interior. I know that. Let me just give you a walk around here. It's the tub. The tub is junk, guys. It's bad. It needs a roof. It needs quarters. It needs floors. It had patches in the quarters, which is another story I'll share with you in a minute. The frame is solid. I got the cross member. I've got the drive shaft. The frame is solid, but it might be tweaked a little bit. which all damage to the frame was done by the fire department, as well as the trunk lid damage when the fire department yanked this thing out of the building. All this quarter panel damage was done by the fire department when they took it out of the building. Now I understand when you're a fireman, fireperson, you're not concerned about saving what's on fire, you're concerned about saving the building and lives. I get that. But really? Like, was that necessary? This car is scary solid. This is the only hole around the windows. This whole channel is solid back here, top and bottom. You can see the roof is bird bathed pretty bad. This side has a matching weird patch. Now if this car was restored or redone, and at the time it looks like there was no rust on the car. There's no rust holes in the quarters. There's in the floors. That's another story that I'll get to soon. This is what I've come to this is my conclusion on this car. I believe at one time this car had some kind of a motor in it that was awesome. I believe it was born with a 12 volt. I don't know if it was born with a 4-speed or not. But both quarters are cut out really high. I don't know if you can see that or not. They were cut out really high. There wasn't patch panels available for this car back then, and they probably weren't rusty back then. I don't know. In the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, maybe they were. There is a hook improvised in the front cross member of the frame. My conclusion to this car is that this was actually a drag car at one point in its life. I think the quarters were radiused for slicks. I think it had a improvised hook up front for a pull chain. I think this was a drag car at one point in its life. That's my conclusion. This car also had a padded dash. You can see the clutch pedals are still in there. And there's no way of knowing at this point what this car was really born with or not. When I found this car was in a barn, as I said previously. The body was off the frame. The body was sitting on 4 oil drums. The front clip was sitting on the frame, as were the bumpers, the drive shafts, all the other parts. Everything was scattered in this one area of the barn, with the exception of the doors, which were sitting in the car as you see them now. Well, guess what happened to the doors? They got packed full of rats' nests and mice nests and whatever else could build in there. And you know what mice piss does to steel? It rotted the floor out. The doors, I think, are completely savable. You can see that they're wet right now, and they're relatively straight, and the lips are beautiful. The only issue, this door has a prior repair here with lead. Yes, with lead. The other door, I believe, has an issue at the back. There was a really ugly repair done here at the back. Totally repairable, totally patchable. The seams on this thing are beautiful. Front fenders, beautiful. Inners on the front fenders, beautiful. They're not warped. The paint's just gone. The hood is junk. Big deal. Hoods are cheap. It also came with a full set of 4 15x7 rally wheels, which are not correct for this car. Here's the pile of wheels. 15x7 wheels. They're code FW for a 1972 Monte Carlo. I have all the chrome for the front. I got the bumpers. I have the car sold. Hopefully, tentatively, it's going to another gentleman in Wisconsin who has a restoration shop. He's going to use this car, a 65 4-door station wagon and a 64 2-door station wagon to make 2 good cars. I don't know what 2 cars he's going to make, but he needs a front clip for one of them. He needs a frame for the other one. I don't know if the frames are the same. He would know that. I'm not a Chevelle fanatic. This car has a title, all the tags. It's cool. It's got a cool story. We made a deal with the previous owner that we would divide the proceeds from the sale of it and its parts with her. She is not looking to get rich. She knew that we were car guys and did not want to send the car to the junkyard because the storage space was going to be eliminated. So she contacted us and said, I have a car for you guys. Can you please get rid of it for me? Can you please give me something for it when you sell it? We did really good on this car. I would have liked to have done better. I would have liked to have gotten another $500 for it. But as you can see, and you know, it's Thanksgiving Day. It's pouring rain. Thank goodness this is not snow. I don't want this here when there's snow on the ground. So I made a deal on it. It's gone. The wheels are going with it. There may be some other additional items that he may purchase in addition to what we made a deal on, what you see in front of you. So that's the story on the 65 Malibu Super Sport. This would be a badass car to own. It'd be an expensive car to rebuild. If I was going to rebuild it, I would not have sold the drivetrain, obviously. Obviously, if there was a build sheet in the car at any point in its life, it's gone. It's torched. But it's got a cool story. You know, a very ambitious body person with time and money could save that tub. No question in my mind. It needs full quarters. It needs a full roof. It needs full floors. So what are you saving? You know, the dash is bad. You're not. What I would do with this car is I would go south. I'd buy a two-door coupe, and it would become a super sport in a matter of a winter. Just even if you had a rusty shell that has a good roof and workable quarters, you know what I mean. You guys know what I'm going with. But I mean, this thing has a ton, and I mean a ton of cool original parts, super sport only parts, including the boxed rear control arms for the rear diff. It's got sway bars. It's actually came with reverse lamp delete plates, which are not in the rear bumper at this time, but I have them. I'm doing a little research on those. The reverse lamp delete plates are extremely rare. Doesn't necessarily make them valuable, but they are rare. They are most likely in a 300 model, or maybe a Z16 stripper model that was ordered for racing only. Maybe some of you guys can chime in on that. But for the most part, the front end chrome is nice, with the exception of the right eyebrow. I have the buckets. I have the piece of chrome for the left side. The front bumper is a good core. The rear bumper is a great core. You know, there is a ton of parts on this thing for you guys who spend money on parts for these things. I mean, I was going to part it out, and the guy who wanted to buy the front clip ended up buying the whole car because that's how good of a deal I gave him on it. And you buy a front clip for this, all aftermarket sheet metal, just the sheet metal aftermarket is like $1,500. Well, I'll tell you this much right now. He's getting what you see in front of him for less.